Oregon Inlet was created in 1846 when a hurricane broke through the barrier islands of the North Carolina coast, separating Hatteras Island from the rest of the world. The inlet was named after a ship, the Oregon, that was in the area during the storm, and then sailed to the mainland to spread the news. Initially being cut off wasn't a concern for the Hatteras Islanders. There was no roads or vehicles, and the people were accustomed to staying on their island and only being able to leave by boat. However, as the outside world progressed and vehicles became more common, it became clear that Hatteras Islanders and the handful of people that wanted to visit the southern Outer Banks needed a way to get across Oregon Inlet. In the 1920s, Captain Toby Tillett started pulling a barge carrying a handful of cars with a tugboat back and forth across Oregon Inlet. By 1934, the North Carolina Highway Commission had taken notice and decided to subsidize these ferry trips, keeping tolls affordable for residents and visitors alike. By 1950, Tillett's entire ferry business was sold to the state. By the late 1950s, the ferry traffic to and from Hatteras Island had increased to the point that a bridge was necessary, and the Herbert C. Bonner Bridge officially opened to vehicles in 1962, spanning across Oregon Inlet and providing commuters and day trippers with an easy way on and off the island. While the Bonner Bridge has certainly provided much needed transportation for tourists and visitors alike, it is time to replace it. The bridge was built to last 30 years and has far exceeded that limit. I remember when I was younger, my parents started telling me to unbuckle my seatbelt and roll down the window as we crossed the bridge. When I asked why, I was told that if I survived the crash into the water when the bridge collapsed underneath of us, that I would want to be able to get out of the car. It is a rule of thumb that I follow every time I go over the bridge. A few years back, there were stories all over the news about bridges collapsing around the United States. Those stories have enhanced my fear of the Bonner Bridge. The bridge has not been without incident over these many decades. In late 1990, a barge hit the bridge during the storm and took out a large section. The people were coming through Ocracoke to get to Cedar Island or Swan Quarter and continue on to their destinations. The ferry line ran from one end of Ocracoke to the other. A lot of the villagers got together to cook meals and deliver food and water to the stranded motorists. The incident took several months to repair. Doctor appointments had to be rescheduled or an overnight trip was required. Supplies had to be rerouted through Swan Quarter, so grocery prices went up because of the extra delivery time and surcharges, and jobs went down because the tourists couldn't reach the islands. The next incident I remember was this past winter. The Bonner Bridge was shut down by the North Carolina Department of Transportation because of scouring. There was not enough sand to hold up the bridge. This shutdown came with no warning, so many people ended up stuck on the wrong side of the bridge. NCDOT was quick to launch an emergency ferry route from Stumpy Point to Verdancy that has a ride that lasts a little over 2 hours and adds an awful lot of time to your day if you are a commuter. Now you may be wondering why, oh why, has such an outdated bridge not been replaced? NCDOT first began the process of investing in a new bridge in 1989. However, a number of roadblocks over the years delayed construction. The most recent are two lawsuits filed by the Southern Environmental Law Center, one in July of 2011 and another in August of 2013, on behalf of the Defenders of Wildlife and the National Wildlife Refuge Association, in an attempt to delay or stop bridge replacement on environmental grounds. Until those lawsuits are resolved, NCDOT cannot move forward with the project. Over the course of 2 decades, NCDOT has completed detailed studies analyzing options for replacing the bridge and their potential impact on the people, wildlife, and environment of the area. The department studied 2 main corridors and at least 8 alternatives for the new bridge. Some groups, including the Southern Environmental Law Center, are advocating for a 17-mile-long bridge that goes into Pamlico Sound, referred to as the Long Bridge. The Long Bridge would cost about $1.15 billion in taxpayer money to build. That is not a financially viable option, nor the most efficient way to get the project done. Studies determined that replacing the bridge with additional ferries would also be too expensive. Instead, NCDOT hopes to proceed with a design that runs parallel with the current bridge. It is possible to build a bridge without permanently affecting the sand, soil, and water in the area. When the Bower Bridge was originally built, it did have minimal impacts on the environment, but nature was able to bounce back, and now we have a beautiful marsh and beach line in the area. Today's materials and technology allow us to progress with even less impact than the original construction project. Uh, Glenn McVicker said it best when he stated, "Folks out here I know need a bridge for their livelihood, but there are those of us who just pass through. A new bridge will be good for us too. It will be a reminder that we must progress." I personally have lived on Ocracoke for my entire life. Most of the families on Hatteras Island and Ocracoke go back for hundreds of years. To have a group of people from out of town who haven't even been to these islands try to put us in danger and hamper our livelihood and stop progress is just really irritating. I wish that they could see the people down here that they are putting at risk.